Welcome everybody to my channel. So I created my last two videos about Mark Passio. In those videos, I was talking about. I've covered such some part of this. So since Mark Passio into this speech, it's a really strange speech, and most of people will not understand. So I will address directly to Mark Passio. See, Passio, if you have balls, first of all, if you're a man, so instead of using an accessory to glorify your image, use these stop using these people for props. If you are addressing something that I've asked you, instead of using people to get it validated, why don't you grow a pair and have a one-to-one discussion about these things so that people can also see that like you don't feel a man without accessory who are amplifying your point of view, who don't have any of their own, by the way, and they think that they are doing some sorts of research, and since they came across the madness of you and they understood your madness, so that's become the reality. Okay, I will show you where you are wrong, but the problem here is I've showed you multiple times where you are wrong. But that thing, when you understand that you are wrong there, so that thing becomes you. Even when somebody else is explaining you and you make somebody else same, that's you spew the same vitriol on people. All right. So I know if you are a moral person, if you were a moral person, you would take your responsibility at some point. Why don't you take responsibility? Why you create this theater play all the time? Why don't you have one-to-one interaction so that things can be logged like that? In this video of yours, I can clearly see that you are spewing the things that I explained you. Now you are using those things as your own. So what does this thing tells you about your character? When I started to expose your whole shit, you were crying about hard drive, people are not putting hard drive properly. You stopped crying about that. Okay, now you are talking my tongue, my language, after trying to like you are flipping things, or what's going on here? Did you forget that you used to cry about people's hard drive? You used to cry about how people are donating you money, they're not donating you properly. Did you forgot about the thing that you were whining about, um, Apple Mac Studio or something? Now you have become godly man. And this is your character. And I clearly I still have those videos. Don't think for a second that I've removed those videos. I still have those videos where I said that if the environment surrounding became something like about Christians and all stuff, these people will pretend to be Christians. When you were crying and whining and moaning and attacking Christians, now you're trying to virtue signal about Christianity also. I will show you to the rest of the people who are listening. I will show you his hypocrisy. Okay.
People in the alternative media who bought this psyop, this revisionist psyop that somehow the Austrian.
You can like this person is parroting Passio or cult mentality. So what happens with these cults is there's a thing with cults. In cult, there's a identity diffusion. The person forgets about his own identity, his own agency and autonomy. It start to become like a cult leader. That is like this person is showing, and he's even mocking people as if he has some great knowledge. So this delusion, this false sense of confidence and delusion, these random people get when they're talking with some cult leader, they think that they have achieved something great, so they start to behave like that and they start to use their tone as well. Okay, if you ask this person who could not even talk properly in the beginning, introduction something about Mark Passio, he is pretending to mock people. He thinks that mocking at people, that gives him some power over people, and that makes this person something superior. This is what these people learn, by the way. This is why all their movements, they fall apart. They live a life of a loser and all that stuff. Okay, so let me show you. Let me begin. Let me get to the point real quick. I'm playing halfway through because most of the part, the important part, is here. Then he will cough and all stuff. So I will skip that part. Then also, the thing is, the point I want to come across here. It begins from here. If you want to watch this whole video, you can go to this what on earth is happening of Mark Passio on the ODC or somewhere. This is available publicly. Okay, Mark Passio interviewed by Axel Dehi. This is the date 16/4/2026. Okay,
Painter was somehow the good guy. They're very foolish and naive. They don't understand. They're both sides. They're both member of the cult that they run this planet. It's all planned. What they're trying to do is to create a world government through wars, through the so-called.
now listen to this idea of word government. Okay, one word government, one system. And this idiot is parroting this thing right now. And toward the end, I will show you Mark Passio, how Mark Passio says that there should be one universal thing. Okay, people skip a lot of things. People do not have this critical reasoning. They just watch these people because these people put them in a trance-like state by screaming. See, when these people they start to scream and attack and curse and cry and moan and bitch, so people go for more emotional sides of this thing, and they put their rationality logic aside and they fall for the emotions. So they often don't make these connections that what's actually going on here, what these people are trying to pull. This is called Machiavellianism by a charismatic cult leader. Okay, so they manipulate people using this speech, and they virtue signal about their intelligence or something. You know, virtue signaling. I know something. See, I know this thing. Then they will start to spew about some random vague uh, facts that cannot be verified directly to sound as if they are very virtuous, very intelligent or something. Okay,
They're calling on the population, the depopulation, um, ultra progressivize the society into extreme ideology, no cultural Marxism, all of that, which lead people to think that the other side, the ultra conservative and fascist, are some of the good guys, based on the agenda that's happening now with the so-called woke nonsense.
woke nonsense. He's speaking his tongue now. He's repeating his parroting his sentence in the same way how he parrots it. Okay,
People, the so-called destruction, the so-called national uh, identity of nations, cultural identity of nations, and all of that. I did a video last week where I explained all of that. That it's planned. It's part of their bigger.
if it is a plan, then why is he using this accent of his culture? If it's all conspiracy theory and he does not support this, so why is this person using this accent? Why is he not speaking like American already or some other thing? If American is also cultural thing, so why is he using this his cultural stuff? So these idiots don't have slightest clue because they live in this delusion. In this delusion, they are contemptuous about other people. Okay, they don't have themselves in that. They don't see that how people are perceiving them. They try to, in their narcissism or in their delusions. I don't know this person. What is going on with this person? This first time I've come across this thing, but there is a hint of grandiosity and entitlement in this person also. Okay, so I have to look at this what he's talking about right now about culture and all this stuff. So why are you using this accent? This is also your culture.
Agenda of the world government, not the world religion, creating a block of super states, and this is how they want to structure the planet Earth and control humans. And people still don't understand all of this.
They always
At
work
this
through dialectics. They want people to pick between
exactly.
two false choices. So they always want conservative versus liberal, Democrat versus Republican, fascist versus socialist or communist. You know, one religion versus another religion. Okay, one race versus another race, one class versus another class, one sex versus another sex. As long as they could divide people, they have them fighting each other instead of looking at what the real basis and the real origin and the real causal factors of the problem.
So I don't see Mark Passio stopping this fight either. He himself is divided into two: occultism and your anarchism and rest of the world. So why is he also feeding into this dialect? So they cannot make this connection. Oh, this is also going on, and this is also people can witness. They don't have the slightest clue. They don't have a slightest clue about this thing. This anarchy is a narrative. It's a rhetoric. Okay, Mark Passio, what is his like? If somebody claims to be anarchist, if a person is talking, is so contemptuous, how do you call this thing? Contemptuous about the society, about all these things. So it should show in his way of life. Like he has talked everything like a your capitalist. He has all this whatever the hell is this his living space or his office or what? Because I've seen some videos of him where he was claiming that this is his house and this is where he sleep. So why is there so many items thrown around like this? What is this thing? Is this anarchy? I mean, anarchy should be in your action. If you are claiming to be like this, I'm not promoting any anarchy, by the way. You cannot see anything in the actions. Okay,
Actually is. People are not looking at causal factors. They're always debating between two false dialectics. Religion and atheism is another one. Both
religion, and your whatever the fuck he does, Freemasonry. Okay, Mark Passio has this all-seeing eye, and he says that that's the he fools that people that that's an eye of care. Then you will go and listen to some older videos of his ideal, Michael Tsarion. Michael Tsarion says that this is the eye of reptilian. Okay, so whom should you trust? Because this is all conspiracy, woo. So these people, they don't have their stuff together either, and they are in this entitlement. They scream and spew on people so much. In the same video, Mark Passy will say that fuck everybody, fuck your platform, this and that. Let's talk about this. I will not go to any platform, this and that. And later on, even before the video ended, he said that I have a interview with another person, another platform. So what is this behavior? First, this is a theater play. It is an ideology. It is a action, something in action. It is just madness. Can't these people make any connections when they say these things, and then when they defy these things? I will show you. Okay.
of them are false dialectics. You know, and this is what people have to grasp and understand, and they have to come out of this childish, naive mindset of if it's not vanilla, then it has to be chocolate. If it's not blue, then it has.
Yeah. If it's not Christianity, then it should be Satanism. If it's not Satanism, it should be anarchy. or occultism. This is mind of Mark Passio is telling to people, right?
Has to be red. If it's not hot, it has to be cold. Like, these are ridiculous uh, choices between two opposing dynamics that have nothing to do with, whether something is moral or not. That's the only.
Morality cannot come in a vacuum. Morality comes from integrity, something these people lack. You cannot hold these people responsible for their own actions. One day they are fighting you with over one thing, and then you clarified that thing. Now what you have clarified, what they have understood, now they used your thing that you have clarified to them as their own, and in their rhetoric and narrative they're attacking you still with the screenshot they have in you, with the screenshot they created when they thought that these people are stupid, and then they are still repeating the same thing after stealing your stuff. Things they were fighting with you over, you clarified that here you stupid fools, here you are wrong. Now they bypass everything and they forget that something like that even existed or happened. Now this thing becomes their own, and their narratives continues. Nobody cares this, neither his audience, nobody. These accessories for so-called host or your interviewer, they speak their own tongue, no critical questioning, nothing. They, I mean, this is how this thing is. So how do you explain these people? If Mark Passio want to expose somebody or want to teach somebody, so why are you continually stealing their stuff? Why are you continually changing the narrative when people are holding you responsible for your shitty behavior and all stuff? Accept it. You claim to be so moral and ethical and everything else. Where does all that morality and all that ethicalness go when people put you on the limelight? You just slowly steal their stuff and that becomes yours. So you are all about theater play, never about responsibility, morality, ethics. No effective morality and anything else, ethics at display. So you are all about theater play then. All right. And you do this virtue signaling by using these accessories. If you are discussing, if you are doing this virtue signaling toward me using this thing that I'm tired of. I've told you multiple times. Take my email. Let's decide one day. Let's go live. Let's have a discussion live about all these things, so that people can also decide that this much he's spewing, this much he's spewing. So they can also decide that who's wrong, who's right at some point. No, Mark Passy will not do that. He's scared of that thing. And he will make things about you are not a man, you are this, that, show his frustration. All I'm seeing this cowardly behavior for 6 years now. So this is not a symptom of man, no matter how much you use these people to parrot your bullshit, and you feel something good and all stuff about yourself, lack of masculinity. That does not change the facts. Still, facts stays the facts. People can still see your hypocrisy even when you do things subtly, and I will be here to point all these things out till the end of the days. Okay, have no doubt about this thing. Why are you not crying about any arc drive anymore, how to pack that? Why are you not crying about how people should give you money anymore? Why are you not crying about having a Mac studio and all stuff? Why are you not crying about people should come to your house and do your work, play theater play in a shared fantasy and play a role in that? Why have you changed all these things? Why are you talking about philosophy and psychology all of a sudden when I started to talk about things in those contexts? Where's your accountability of your poor behavior and actions? Is there any accountability for any of this thing? Or you just live in this theater play and rhetoric and all these things and you never take any accountability? A person who does not take accountability, not take responsibility, is not a man. It's not right. Cannot be on a higher pedestal, cannot present himself as superior. Theater playing, morality and all that stuff, outrage and righteousness does not count. People see these things in action. You can fool a lot of people with this. I understand you have a following and those people will fall for this, but you are not fooling me still. And if you are doing all this theater play and everything else for me to, or a few other people, I'm not saying I'm a special person, but since you are using those things like this, I'm assuming that maybe you are trying to tell these things to me. Or are you just theater playing to regulate yourself in front of your audience? Because if you're theater playing, that's fine. Then why are you talking about any morality, ethics, this and that? And I can clearly see there's no morality and ethics in you. So if you're trying to do it for your regulation, your mood disorders, your these tantrums to regulate yourself, that's fine. Okay, this is how you regulate it. Fine, no problem. But at least don't call yourself moral and ethical or something. Okay, people are not stupid.
Only real dialectic is it moral or is it immoral? This is about
Exactly.
nothing else except right versus wrong. And the problem is the bulk of humanity is confused regarding what moral, right, and wrong actually are. They have not yet made an accurate understanding through a study of moral behavior, through a
A imbecile does not even understand that morality and ethics, it cannot just fall upon you from the sky. People are either ethical or moral. I will use this example also here to explain you. Like for example, there's a thief or there's a criminal, like serial killer or something. Okay, so these people, they have two sides of them. One side is for pro-social. It's called pro-social in psychology. They pretend to be all at moral high ground, and they present as a, because they have to maintain an image for that. And these same people, they in the night, in the darkness of night, they go to people's house, they steal their stuff, they murder people, they do all sorts of such things, and then later on they theater play morality and all stuff. So are these people moral? Are criminals moral people? And this is what exactly the real problem of this world is right now, by the way. Okay, so are these people moral? Are these people ethical? No, this is what you're doing. Because you night and day cry about morality and ethics and all stuff, and when people are waiting for you in real actions, when you have to be moral or ethical, you're absent from there. You're busy in mocking at people. You're busy at running a rhetoric, a narrative about people. You're busy at your jokes, lame jokes about sock and all stuff. Your sadism. You're absent there. This is also you, right? So stop talking about this morality and all that whole shit. Nobody's falling for this bullshit anymore. Alright, people know who you are right now. Okay.
study of morality itself. What behaviors are rights because they don't initiate harm against other sentient beings.
What the fuck does this person mean that they don't initiate harm on other human beings? Just watch the entirety of his fucking videos. You will get a fucking brain damage from that. That is not harm. That's just one thing. If a person who is new to all these things, he's exposing those people to all sorts of fucked up human behavior. That is harming their core identity. What is that? He night and day spew, attack people's belief, their religion, everything else. That's not harm. This person is insane to a certain special level, I think. Either this person does this out of his ego, or he's so retarded he cannot even see that this is what he's doing. Then he will come up with new and new narrative, new and new rhetorics. He thinks that if he did this thing like this a little bit differently, if I behave like if I start to, like, he thinks like this, like if I start to talk about God, then something new will. No, you are doing this called repetition compulsion. This is the very definition of madness. Okay, and it's a narcissistic thing. Repeating something compulsively does not change the fact about that thing, no matter how much you can grunt about that thing. That does not make you a moral person. People have seen you when you had to be moral, and you're taking side of a fucking scammer. Okay, where were your this righteousness on this theater play about morality and all that stuff when you had to do something in effective actions? Nowhere. You were absent. You're busy with your whole shit there, childish bullshit. So you don't have this authority anymore. If you want to fool your audience and all stuff, and this is how you survive, that's different thing. But you're not fooling anybody with this rhetoric anymore.
versus what behaviors are wrongdoings because they do initiate harm against other sentient beings. It's unbelievable to
Exactly.
think that the entire causal problem in our world is simply that the bulk of the human population still to this day does not know the difference between right and wrong. But that's what it all boils down to. And again, the only thing that can solve that is moral education.
Mark Passio knows every right and wrong, and he will tell you you should theater play according to his right and wrong. And this is how he looks like a fucking hag after some years. He's so moral and ethical. Look at his state now.
Education. You're never going to solve that problem with politics. You're never going to solve that problem with money. You're never going to solve that problem with technology, although technology is a component of the teaching aspect. You're never going to solve that component with economics. You're never going to solve that problem with new food growth methods. You're never going to solve that problem with human migration. All of the things that people think are solutions, go somewhere else, do a different farming practice, come up with a new crypto, reform the economy, vote for this guy, vote for that woman. Like, none of these are solutions and never have been and are never going to be. You're stuck
Exactly.
in a false paradigm. You have to make the paradigm shift. There's only one.
And if you have shifted the paradigm, you will not have a financial system, right? You will not be needing food, right? Just paradigm change, fix everything. You will not be needing to change these things, right? Right? Look at his fucking logic here. What he's saying is the Satanists control this world. I understand what he's saying. That Satanists control this world according to his narrative. This is not my saying, okay? Because in my culture, there's no Satanist. These things are seen differently. Or if you go to some educational background, some psychology, you have never seen a psychologist ever talking about Satanist. Why? Because there's no Satanist in psychology. There's no Satan in psychology. All right, there are disorders, the personality defects. There are character defects. There are disorders of personality and all stuff in psychology. And they will tell you that there's something wrong with this person whom people think that is a Satanist or something. They will say that this is personality issue, this is something brain damage or something, this is delusion disorder. They will explain you these things like that. So there's no Satanist there. So people who actually understand these things, they don't use this childish explanation about these things, right?
One thing you need to understand and teach: what's right versus what's wrong. What is a right versus what is a wrong.
Nothing is right and nothing is wrong, and everything can be right and everything can be wrong. It depends on the context. And he will say that this is moral relativism or something. You have to understand this thing that universe is not divided into two halves. Universe is a one whole big thing. If there was something objective wrong or right with the universe, you could clearly identify this thing. uh, Universe would have this objectively right and wrong or something. You would see this universe divided into two fragments, this right and this wrong. No, since universe is not divided into, you don't see two fractures of universe. You see universe as a whole. Now, where this wrong and right is coming from, it's from human experience, human point of view, how humans are mistreating each other, how poorly they're treating each other. It's coming from there. Okay? And it cannot be declared. This is a very narcissistic way of thinking. When you think in this all good and all bad, only a borderline narcissist thinks like this. Okay? Now, you will say that there are these all sorts of Satanists who do all sorts of things. How is it right? How is it good? Satanist, if you talk about all these things, they are doing all sorts of fucked up things. So this is not poor behavior. This is good behavior. You will say that that's what I mean. No, that's not what I mean. I'm not siding with any Satanist or this and that. I'm trying to tell you that how things can be seen. Obviously, this is a bad behavior. And Mark Passio says that there are objectively good and bad behaviors. So, no, if there was objectively good or bad behavior, people would not behave like that. The thing is, people choose to be good and bad like that. Okay? In their actions, in their wordings, in their way of life, they choose this thing. So, that's why you need effective uh, morality that you actually practice. Effective, and this thing, Mark Passio interpreted this thing as subjectivity. Okay? And he thinks that he's still superior. There's no such thing as objective morality in the nature. Once again, I've told this multiple times. You don't go in the wild where animals live, and I'm not talking about Darwinism here. Try to take the logic what I'm saying. It's not some sort of philosophical thing here. It's a logical thing, imbecile. So if you are claiming that there exist uh, objective morality, okay, objective morality means it's always there. It's like night and day. There's always night after day. It's always there. So morality should always be there. So we don't know whether this thing exists or not. So what we do is we go to natural settings. Then we try to observe the nature. And I'm not saying to observe nature. How he's going to twist it later on. You need to observe nature, and then you will see that in the nature there are predators who are preying upon even offsprings of like newborn babies of animals who are helpless. Okay, and they're preying on them like real predators. So where is objective morality there? Because objective morality does not exist in nature. You have to practice morality in effectivity in your actions. Then morality stays within the populace, within the people. So this person cannot understand this thing because he has this rhetoric where multiple times he has spewed this thing. Somehow he thinks that if he's going to fight with me, somehow this thing will change, because this is what these imbeciles do. They fight with you, and then later on they steal your stuff, they roll reverts, later on they create content, and that's how they think that reality works. That's how they think that this is morality. Okay, they learn like this, and then later on they become that thing, and you become something else out of their fantasy, whatever they have, they're pleasing, whatever is going to make these people regulate again by calling you such name or abusing you in certain way. So they think that that's reality. They won something, they do this thing. Mark Passio is trying to do this with this thing now. Philosophy and all the academic things he's spewing now, since he has come across his stupidity. But he is not content with that, because this thing shows Mark Passio into wrong light. Now, slowly, subtly, he will latch on these new concepts. He will throw this Satanism and all stuff, his older role that he was used to impose onto people so harshly. He will throw away this thing and he will not let it subtly, even people, he will not even let people know that which version was his, because these people have no core identity. They live for this, feeding this false ego, the facade. It's more important to these people than any morality, ethics, anything. Then again, I can see this person deteriorating because of his ego. So I don't push this thing too much. Okay. But since you spew so much, you have been attacking people over so minute things, how can you let these bigger things slide? Now, when you are in the limelight, right? Where is your accountability? People are not going after your rhetoric or an idiot that you can use as a tool. Now people are seeing things through. And you are at wrong. And you are not showing any moral behavior or something. And people are watching you very closely for this thing. Since you give people tough love, so people are returning some favor now. All right.
Stop doing the wrongs, only engage in behaviors that are rights. The end. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult to do, folks. This is kindergarten level of spirituality. This is not the AP class. This is not the AP.
So if it is so simple, why can't Mark Passio change his behavior? It is so difficult. Not so difficult. It's kindergarten stuff. Kindergarten stuff. So why cannot you see Mark Passio change his behavior? Mark Passio is living in a delusion. It's called fantasy defense. Or he idolizes things. He thinks that things can be divided into good and bad, according to his simple mind, by the way. He's bypassing all the things that people actual person lives uh, through his life. A person just does not pop out of the sky. Okay, a person goes through a life process, and that life process in a way shapes that person. Whatever they are showing in their behavior, personality, there was a process involved. Like for example, there's a criminal. So criminal did not become criminal in one day. He practiced his criminal thoughts, criminal ideas, criminality. Then after this hard work, one day he became criminal. Now Mark Passio is saying, I will show you their delusion of grandeur. I don't know if Mark Passio is ever going to take this, because what Mark Passio does is, when you confront such people, so they attack you first viciously. They understand that they're wrong, but they don't interact with this. They go on to tangents. Now they talk about something else, and slowly they degrade you, at least in their narrative. And now later on they role reverse what they were once attacking. So like for example, I'm exposing this thing, so this will give Mark Passio micro injury, narcissistic injury. Then he will try to fight his way through this, and he will get mad and create all sorts of content abusing me and all stuff. After some months, when he's satisfied with his abuse and all stuff, he will slowly introduce these things that I'm saying right now in his later videos. I've seen this thing with your Sethikas Boza and all other people also. In him as well. I will show you, I will point out this here as well. Now, later on, he has thoroughly smeared you, created narrative, generated narrative about you. Now, Mark Passio will introduce this wisdom that I'm talking right now as his own, and he will preach in his this wicked speech once again, where he's bashing somebody, some snapshot that he took of some people, and he will grunt on camera to get this thing validated that, oh, this is Mark Passio's work. Wow, this person is always so interesting and intelligent. Okay, that's how the intelligence and all this thing come onto them. Like a few years ago, Mark Passio was not aware of this shitty behavior of his. Now I have showed him sources of psychology. There's a psychologist who does a really hard job to explain these things to everybody. That none of this exists in Mark Passio's word. There exists a Mark Passio who's all entitled, who's all disgruntled, who's all sorts of mad and all stuff, who's a Kiran type, and he wants something in people, from people, to behave in a certain way, to theater play, according to Mark Passio. Right? And later on, when people are telling that there's something wrong, you are doing this wrong, so he attacked those people viciously. Now, when he come to understand finally the concepts really, now this disgruntled, this, how do you call it? Entitled Mark Passio. He learned these things. Now he thinks that word learned this thing now. Now he's tried to preach these things to the world. Okay. Mark Passio came to understand this concept. Now he spews these concepts on people. And they are random people whom he's saying that these people don't know this. Yeah, you also did not know this thing a few months ago or a year ago. Now you sucked somebody's blood so much. They explained you these things. Now these things became yours, right? Now you have become a psychologist, right? Right? What about the occultism? All those videos, everything, all the explanations you had spent so many years. What about that? People can still see these things. So you cannot hide behind these things anymore. Now we are living in 2026. People have much more control over this thing, so you cannot fool people continuously. All right, people can put you back to your place with evidence and everything else now.
Here we go.
College grade, university level class. This is kindergarten class. And we're not making it out of
Kindergarten, yeah.
kindergarten. Okay? We're going to be extinct before we hit grade
He cannot make it out of kindergarten. Kindergarten.
1. Okay? And that's really what's going on. We're not going to make type 1 on the Kardashev scale. We're
Right.
not even there yet. We're not going to make it at this.
This fucker, he idealized everything. Kardashev scale of civilization, type of civilization. There are all sorts of theories. This is the problem with these conspiracy theorists. The problem here is they get into some concept, something, and they think that all these concepts are all strictly maintained like that. He idolized these things, and he idolized this thing, and he show his discontentment about how people are this and that. This is all part of narcissism, by the way. When he says that there is the scale, Kardashev scale of civilization, type 1, type 2, type 3. So this idiot, he thinks that when he's grunting about these concepts, by crystallizing these things as solid object, that this is the ultimate absolute reality. This does not show anything wrong with people. This shows that this person is a narcissist first. Secondly, he's an idiot. Okay, he's lacking actual understanding on things. Although these concepts do exist, but they can, like universe, when you talk about how much can I tell to these imbeciles, just to let these imbeciles to steal these things. So there exists a reality. Okay, reality, there's no, see, people when they look at the future or something, time or something, they think that they are laid down things that somebody is hiding from them, and reality is predefined. Okay, there's some pathways and something is hidden from people, but reality does not exist like that. There's a concept of principle of superposition. There's a concept of like, for example, I'm living in this house right now, so it has all sorts of structure and everything else, and I own this. Okay, but sometimes I used to rent this thing to other people. So it's something like that. There are things that exist where any philosophy, anything can become dominant. All right, idiots. So this thing Mark Passio does not understand. His narcissistic or all his other imbeciles like this, they don't understand any of this thing. All right. So that's why he's so disgruntled, because he thinks that he understood one concept. Now he's superior than the whole world. This is wrong.
Juncture. At this rate, we're not going to make it. You know, and again, people will accuse me of being black pilled. I want to say emphatically again, I'm not black pilled. I'm gold pilled. And that's what other people have to get, gold pilled.
This is another grandiose narcissistic statement. Okay, he has to present himself as something unique, something superior, something better, something much more far ahead of everybody. Okay, people don't understand these, common people don't understand these things. This thing shows this is what narcissism is actually.
You got to know the real moral truth, and you got to know the real solution only lies in morality, and that's the gold pill, ladies and gentlemen. And some people have called it the Passio pill. Get Passio.
Hey, this is what narcissism is. He thinks in his delusion and his fantasy that he's all moral, he's all knowing, he's all superior than everybody else. These are the symptoms of a narcissist. Narcissist is not somebody with some sort of these weird teeth and horn in his head. Okay, narcissist looks exactly like you and me. They're very good at hiding their narcissism sometimes. When you see such thing in people, these are the red flags, these are the telltale signs that this person has something going. Now I'm not diagnosing this person, I'm analyzing. This is not a medical diagnosis. I'm not diagnosing this person with any narcissistic personality disorder or anything. I'm trying to show you that this person has these narcissistic patterns. Now it's up to you to decide. But this is how these things are translated. Alright?
Pilled. You know, after you get red pilled, which is about just basic knowledge about the control system, then get Passio pilled or get gold pilled when it comes to natural law and objective morality. Well, let me say this about religion, because this is the other thing that I think is a big hang up in the alternative media community. The so-called alternative media community. Again, wrap that in double quotes as well. Alternative. It's not alternative.
Alternative media of nothing.
Yeah.
Just esquisser, they all have some sort of esquisser who lack all the concepts, all the understanding, everything else in the field. The only credential is they had an interview with Mark Passio, or they had an interview with somebody else, and they can speak their tone. They understood their distorted version of reality. Now they too have this identity diffusion, and he can spew like exactly like that other person. This is called cult mentality. This is called hive mind mentality. Look at this person, how entitled he will become in his own delusions soon. Okay.
It's the alternative to the mainstream satanic media. It's the alternative satanic media. Okay, so
two puppet on the string.
Right.
Puppeteer, and this puppet.
Puppet, yes, this puppet. You are his puppet. What about that? Can you see this thing in you?
Playing around with them.
One of the things you see in this community of people, sadly, is you see huge amounts of cultural religious belief.
Now he's subtly talking about me. Because I've explained this idiot, and I will prove him wrong, by the way, once again. But let me give you the reference, because a lot of people think that I'm deluded somehow. That I think that people are talking with me. The reference that Mark Passio has brought about, he's talking about Buddhism, how I explained this thing. Okay? Mark Passio never calls somebody's name. This is how he virtue signal about these things. And I will prove him wrong. I just wanted to give you this reference for now.
Not only do you see belief in government through minarchism, okay? Most of that is through the Libertarian Party. Sometimes it's the Republican Party. Very rarely it's liberal circles or neoliberal circles or Democratic Party. But you do get...
That's his understanding on these things, or his what we call it, bias. Okay, that's not the reality or truth or anything, right?
Passio pill. Get Passio pilled. After you get red pilled, which is about just basic knowledge about the control system,
If you got passio pill, you will have all the diseases this person has, however he's behaving, uh, disorders.
then get Passio pilled or get gold pilled when it comes to natural law and objective morality. Well, let me say this about
Objective morality. He does not even understand that this concept, how garbage this concept truly is. He don't have the slightest clue, and I want to wait that since till the day where this thing finally hit him. I want to see that how he's going to twist his this objective morality crap after that. Totally made up concept.
religion, because this is the other thing that I think is a big hang up in the alternative media community. The so-called alternative media community. Again, wrap that in double quotes as well. Alternative. It's not alternative.
Alternative media of nothing.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the alternative to the mainstream satanic media. It's the alternative satanic media. Okay, so
There's no media actually. Okay. People have become something different. People are using media as an object to have a livelihood. They're not doing anything that they are supposed to do, and they are not even control or something. They are, in a way, vultures, like vultures or opportunists. Okay.
puppet on the string.
right.
Puppeteer and this puppet
So
playing around with them.
one of the things you see in this community of people,
He's so happy after telling his concept.
sadly, is you see huge amounts of cultural religious belief. Not only do you see
Exactly.
belief in government through minarchism, okay, most of that is through the Libertarian Party. Sometimes it's the Republican Party. Very rarely it's liberal circles or neoliberal circles or Democratic Party. But you do get Republicans in the freedom community and in the alternative media community. You do get libertarians, okay, or minarchists, and they just think a little bit of slavery is perfectly acceptable.
That's his, like, actually, if you can see at the state of Republican Party, not Democratic or something, Republican, see this slave mentality and this thing comes from where a person or a party or ideology want to be king. That is Republican throughout the world. Look at Donald Trump. Look at your Netanyahu. Look at the older time. In older time, Nazis, they were right winger, and no matter how much he's going to spew about that, no, 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 they were leftist. All these scumbags, you cannot even hold these people responsible. All these things. If you go to this Britain, we're all right wingers. We're all, if you divide these things like leftists are this and rightists are this. So yeah, right wingers, they have this mentality. They think that they're superior than somebody. They're wiser, they're intelligent, good looking, this and that. They have this mentality of this thing. Leftists, if you talk about their democratic, means they follow democracy. Democratic, right? And if you say that republicanism means republic through the people, why do you see Donald Trump behaving like a king? Why cannot you see him being republic? Because that's a rhetoric. And these people say that these are the two coins, same people. No, clearly there's a vast difference between Obama, that I don't think that there was something right with that person either. When I talk about democracy, I don't talk about American democracy, first of all. Okay? And they were better democracies. They functioned better than American democracy throughout the world. But Obama and Donald Trump, if they are controller positions, let's say, if they are same people, so why do these people fight so much about this ideology? Who will be in power? Who will not be in power? right? So clearly these people are missing the point somewhere.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
long
those
as it's not a
fucking
lot of
morons.
slavery,
They bring dead people.
it
That's what they
really
are.
is a form of mental retardation. It really is. It's very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah,
Um, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Like I said, and I'm gonna say it very quick. People don't want to hear that the solution is anarchy. A society.
He is parroting his language. If you ask this person one to one directly a few questions, I don't think he will have his own authentic thoughts about these things. He will parrot these people's logic, by the way. But if you ask this person about anarchy directly one to one, I don't think this person is going to answer any of those questions.
Based on true voluntary interaction between individual and cooperation between people, which is how human beings like.
Anarchy means chaos. Either change your label, okay, or stop running your mouth. If you're talking about cooperation between people, that can happen with or without anarchy, by the way. You don't need any anarchy for that. That can happen in a democracy, that can happen in a republicanism, that can even happen in a communism. Okay, so they bullshit, whatever they are spewing, it's wrong. It does not have to have anarchy, or this can happen without any of these labels either. All right.
With the capacity, the holistic capacity, and
Holistic, his rhetoric. Capacity, holistic capacity,
holistic intelligence as humans
holistic intelligence. Mark Passio's rhetoric.
are meant to
He's a
live.
parrot. He's a good parrot.
That's right.
It's in nature naturally. This is how God wants us to live. You
Where
know,
did this term holistic come from? This is Mark Passio's term. Holistic. Holistic, considered as a whole thing rather than a collection of parts. Okay, this is a philosophy of Buddhism, by the way. Alright, holistic is a philosophy of Buddhism. Wholesomeness. Look it up. Treating the whole person rather than just symptoms, effective of a disease. Roots of this term. The term holistic is derived from concept of holism, coined in 1926 by South African statesman and philosopher Jan Smuts in his book Holism and Evolution. It is rooted in Greek word holos, whole, and represents a perspective that emphasizes the study of wholes rather than just their parts. And let me show you its parallel in Buddhism. Wholesomeness in Buddhism. Wholesomeness in Buddhism, kusala, refers to actions, words, and thoughts rooted in non greed, non hatred, and non delusion and bring beneficial results, peace, and happiness. It is a foundational ethical framework focusing on cultivating wholesome states, generosity, compassion, wisdom, while abandoning unwholesome ones to purify the mind, reduce suffering, and advance on the path to enlightenment. All right, core aspects of wholesomeness. Definition of kushala, kushal, kushala. This kushal, I can read this thing in Hindi. Wholesomeness actions are those that are skillful, healthy, and blameless, leading to positive karma and mental states. The three roots of wholesomeness. Wholesome actions arise from one, non greed, generous, non hatred, loving kindness, and non delusional wisdom. The 10 wholesome actions, Kamapatha: body abstaining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Speech: abstaining from false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. Mind: developing covetous, uncovetous, uncovetousness, goodwill, loving kindness, and right view, cultivating wholesomeness, mindfulness, the core practice of identifying and replacing unwholesome thoughts with wholesome ones. So this is also concept of Buddhism. Buddhism is way older than 1969. Okay, this is a core philosophy of Buddhism, wholesomeness. This is where these things come from, but maybe that word was coined by South African, but this principle stays way before 1969 or whatever we read just. Okay, here 1926. In Buddhism, this thing is older than that, wholesomeness. All right.
And people don't want to hear that. They want to fucking mention around. They want to mention any words. They want to say, no, we need a little bit of government, limited government. We need reform the financial all this bullshit, nonsensical
He's using his terminology, he's parroting this thing. No person would ever say this thing that we need limited control. What?
nonsense. What are your thoughts about this, Mark?
The natural
Because it's
non
unbelievable.
satanic state of human beings, the natural non satanic state of human beings is voluntary cooperation. It is not
Yeah.
setting up a control system of slavery, of control, of coercion and violence and duress. There's nothing natural, normal, necessary, or moral about that. So I totally agree with that statement. And that is how we should be coexisting on this planet as a
Yeah.
species. And for people to speak out against that just means they're supporters of slavery. I mean,
You're evil.
If it's not vanilla, it should be chocolate. Right? His own rhetoric I'm using. So that's how Mark Passio thinks.
Person if you do
an
that. You're evil.
absolute bad person. Only bad people think we shouldn't interact voluntarily and cooperatively. If you
Why is he not? I mean, what is stopping him to do this thing right now? Is somebody stopping him to do this?
think that people
Dumb
need to
people.
be coerced and put into a state of duress under the threat of coercion and violence, uh,
Conspiracy theorists, criminals like and mentally ill people, they're responsible for all the control that we have right now in the world. If anything, these people are responsible for this because of their poor behavior, because of their constant threatening to power, constant rhetoric, their madness and insanity. So these people in power, they think that there exists some malicious people, some crazy insane people who need this thing because they don't stop anywhere, they have no limits. So if anything, these people are giving this idea to these powers and everybody else. That's where all these crazy laws are coming because they can see these people, their behavior, their all sorts of things. They can read these people inside out, and that's why they create these systems more and more because they also think that there exist some insane people. So what about their participation in this?
you're a bad person. That's all it comes down to. You're not a moral human being. And this is most people on the planet that think like that, and that's why
In the beginning, Mark Passio said that 99% people are Satanist, de facto Satanist. Now he's saying most people are immoral. So what does this thing tells you about Mark Passio? Do you think there are 99% satanic people in this whole world? Can you imagine this insanity? Do you think most people are immoral? So what about all the good things that people are doing every day? Mark Passio does not approve that. So does that make those people bad people? Or it is just his rhetoric to satisfy his narcissism and sadism by name calling others. This is what he's saying, by the way. Maybe if Americans are such crazy people, I can show you in Indian streets. People have compassion toward. Nowadays, it has reduced because there's a madness going on, but still, people they try to help each other on the streets. Still, People who don't have any money, anything, they help each other. Okay.
We're enslaved as a species. You know, you got to hit more than half. More than half is the number that you got to hit for the dynamic to really truly sway to the other side. And we're nowhere even close to that. We're laughingly far away from that number of people really understanding objective morality and natural law and living according to those principles. So, going back to religion, in the alternative community, the alternative freedom community, alternative media community, and the freedom community, I should say, you have so many people that still adhere to cultural religious belief systems.
He has to spew this thing about this thing. Okay, I will address this thing because he keep on going on tangents and he's not talking about this thing, so I was not able to answer.
They still are traditionalist Christians or Jews or Muslims or Buddhists or whatever.
Buddhist, he has to say this thing. I like that, but he has to make a whole thing about this thing so that people cannot pinpoint this later on.
And they still don't understand
Mhm.
that's what the control system, the satanic control system, put in place to confuse humanity regarding true morality. All religions are morally relativistic. They are designed and put in place in the human domain, in the human social structure, in order to obfuscate objective morality in the minds of human beings and confuse them regarding which behaviors are moral versus which behaviors are immoral. That's why each religion teaches different moral standards.
Okay.
There's no one agreement of unified standards of morality when it comes to moral behavior across all cultural religions. They all
So this is the stupidity of Mark Passio. So I've already pulled this thing so that people can understand the concept of religion and God. So I will tell you the concept of God first, then I will explain you where religions come from. Okay, I've told you a little bit in the beginning. The concept of God originated in prehistorical times, like stemming from human attempts to understand natural phenomena and a psychological need of for meaning, evolving from animism to polytheism, and eventually monotheism. Early humans attributed divinity to nature, sun, mountains, storms. Later, developing complex spiritual belief systems as society, traditions, and settled in life. Now, since I read this thing, Mark Passio will say that he just read it off YouTube, internet, Google. No, this is for you people to understand, have a basic understanding of God. Now I will tell you that the bullshit that spewed out of his mouth, how these religions came into existence and how they got evolved. So let's say a few thousand years ago, 5,000, 4,000 years ago, there was a baby. There was no lights, there was no psychologist, there was no proper living facilities, and somewhere in the earth, at some part of the earth, and there was a baby who got scared in the darkness, or a boy or a girl of some age, okay, in their infancy. They were not grown ups, so their mother saw that this person, this kid, is crying. There's no other means for that kid. So the mother introduced the kid with this concept of religion, that no, no, don't feel so scared. There are some angels, there's something, there's some gods who are looking after you. So this thing made that kid relax, not fear anything. So this is the beginning of the religion. Okay, and this is not just this much to kids and all stuff. Man needed a meaning to fight with all sorts of craziness And I'm not talking about social Darwinism, this and that. I'm telling you the basis of religion. Where did the need for religion come from? So people used to live in caves. Okay, they were hunter gatherer. They used to confront death every single day. They either kill an animal, a predator, or even the grass eating, this and that. They were also very vicious, and they were hunting them down. So they needed something, some meaning to cope with this thing, with this stress of day to day life. So they come up with this concept of God and religion from there. Now, this thing is just about one part of the world. This thing happened throughout the earth at different part, at different time, in different ways. So that's where from all these religions evolved. So pardon these religions, they were not thinking about that there will be a Mark Passio with his delusions and all sorts of entitlement, and he will be running a what on earth is happening and all that crap. So let's have a unified let's decide a unified value for everything. So can you see the stupidity of these people in their delusion, in their entitlement? These people, they live in this delusion, this childlike mind state where they think that whatever the whole shit that surface to their mind, that is reality. Reality does not work like this. This is a evolution of religion and everything else, of God and all that stuff, of many thousands of years. Okay, this goes back to even Stone Ages, this concept. So different places come up with different ideas, because there was no one medium to communicate with each other at different part of earth. There was no internet back then at Stone Age or somewhere. There was no communication lines. Let's ring to this Iceland, to igloo. Let's discuss religion and let's discuss these these rules. Let's decide one unified model of religion, right? So how ridiculous this person is, and he thinks that he's great in his rhetoric. So these things locally evolved at different part in the Europe, or your I don't know where did Christianity come from. People say that this come from Palestine or Israel, what is right now Jerusalem or whatever the fuck. Some people say that Christianity came from India, some say something else, right? So this is how these things locally evolved. Everybody had their own take, they had their own enemies, their own adversaries. They identified these things differently. What I'm Okay, let him finish this. But what I can see in today's time, these conspiracy theorists, they don't have a common ground on anything. This person says that all seeing eye is a symbol of love and care. Okay, this is rhetoric of Mark Passio about all seeing eye. He had this locket in his neck. Then his guru, Michael Tessarion, the fabulous, he said that in an older video that I have under my channel, that this is a eye of reptilian, the all seeing eye that you see on $1 bill. These people, they are confusing people. They are When you challenge these people's idiocracy, they say that Buddhism is a cult. When you expose these people, their stupidity, their cultish behavior, so that's how they fight back. They create content like killing the Buddha, but they are not talking about any Buddhism at all. This thing does not prove that these people are wise or this and that. This thing proves that these people are narcissistic, these people are idiotic, they lack all sorts of understanding and everything. They've been fooling people throughout their lives because they did not have any connection or understanding on any of the culture. What they had is a mouth and some drops that they created in their delusions, and that's how they have been making dollars throughout these years. Okay, by deceiving people.
Teach a different, diverse set of moral standards that don't agree with each other. They're conflicting moral standards.
Yeah, this is what natural evolution is. Everything is not a compartment like your head or your behind you, idiot. This thing proves that these things are natural. They're not controlled or something. This idiot does not understand this thing.
In one religion, it says it's perfectly fine to do this thing. In another religion, it says it's a sin against the creator of the universe. Well, which one is true and which one is false? It's just like man's law.
So is all thing a good thing or bad thing? First, let's settle this thing first.
On one side of an imaginary line, I can have a certain type of weapon, and on the other side, I'll be thrown in a cage for.
Yeah, he's talking about law now. So let me tell you some history of America. So before America, there was these Native Americans, the actual landowners. They used to live, and they had different things going on. They had different tribes. Those tribes had different laws of land. If you go to the history of America, there's a lot of, how do you call this thing? When people have these beliefs, supernatural belief, what's the term? Superstition. So back in Abraham Lincoln or their founding fathers' time, when these populace was more, so they had agreement. All these tribal, all this division, they tried to wipe out the original people. These are the settlers, by the way. They have wiped out the original population there, and they have given this settlements, these native settlements to them, and they have acquired the land. So there were some sort of agreements through a constitution. So those lands, uh, they had different rules at that time, and these people, these founding fathers, so called modern, they made these agreements with those people. Those things got written into agreements and everything else. That's where these rules are carrying forward according to the land, law of the land. So this person is, when he's talking so ignorantly about these things, so this thing proves that this person knows nothing about religion. He knows nothing about any law, but he has this insanity in his head. Now I've told you this thing, now he will try to read about this thing. He will generate a narrative about this thing. But at this point, he has no idea about this thing. Tomorrow, if he can create something, some new segment with this thing, does that thing proves that he never said this thing like this?
Possessing it. Not even using
Exactly.
it, but just owning it. So which one is right and which one is wrong?
Yeah, if you were not a narcissist, you would have understood the feelings, the emotions, the context of things. But since you are a narcissist, you are absent from the life, you are absent from the feelings, you are absent from the sentiments. How can somebody explain you these things? Which is right, which is wrong? All are right and all are wrong, because they are this called context free grammar, context free language that Mark Passio knows less about, little about. These are all ways of communicating something. Okay.
The whole point is it's all moral relativism. And that's the
Moral relativism. This thing proves that how shallow his knowledge is on these subjects.
original sin biblically.
Mark Passio will become a pastor now. Christian pastor, by the way.
In the biblical allegory story of Eden, I continuously tell this story because it really helps expand awareness so much of what the allegorical stories biblically are really about. They're not
The
literalistic.
Bible, yeah, keep going.
They're not literalistic
Yeah, keep going.
interpretations.
All these people are unhinged. They are very random all the time.
They're not literal interpretations. They're allegories to help us understand moral lessons.
This person is more about theater play.
So, the original sin of religion, or of the Christian religion, biblically, is moral relativism. It's
That's right.
deciding for ourselves what morality
Did he find this in his Bible or Matthew or what? What is this person doing?
is. So when Eve in this story eats of the fruit of the tree of life, of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, not the tree of life, that is a separate tree. Then she allegedly gets imbued with this knowledge of what's the difference between right and wrong. Well, it's not being imbued with it, it's taking it upon yourself. It's arbitrating it is the original sin. Taking it into yourself or arbitrating it. You're saying, this is my power. It's not God's power to delineate good from evil. It's my power. Okay? So when you arbitrate the difference between good and evil, that's moral relativism. That's why it's the original sin that leads to all other transgressions.
While this person saying that they are bad people, is he being morally relativist? He's just said a few sentences ago that these people are bad people. In another video, he said that these people should be shunned, orchestrated, right? So, is he being morally relativistic about this thing or what?
Against natural law, all other wrongdoings. So, in the freedom and alternative media community, you see people with who still adhere to religious belief systems and structures. They're still
Yeah, because before all this nonsense that he has access to today, there was no these whatever he's spewing right now after reading a bunch of books. These things did not exist in the older times, and people are evolving from the older time. There's a history, there's a documented thing, there's a lived experience of people that slowly evolved and contributed to this modern knowledge. You cannot use modern knowledge to bash these older stuff. Okay, genius. This is what Mark Passio does not understand, his low processing mind.
members of and believers of cultural religious belief systems like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc.
He has to use these last two because he's referring to something I produced in front of him. I told him that Buddhism is a cultural thing, so that this idiot will understand that in India there were not always these modern times, and the stuff evolved from some place. So when he says that there's a religion, these things are religion. So these people also learn a lot of things for free from me, by the way. So I tried to tell this person that not ever the whole world is running with the Western values, right? The Eastern things that have their own values. So this is how these values evolved. So what people say in the West in today's time, people think that what Christianity is same as what Hinduism or Buddhism in India is. It's not. Okay, Hinduism had a whole scholarly stuff in it. Hinduism had its own scientists, its own spiritual, some sort of pandits, this and that. It had its writers, poets, all these things in it. Okay, so these are the philosophical, cultural things where a cultural background evolved from. In Hinduism itself, we have recognized that there exist logic, there exists language. Okay, these people don't understand these things. Okay, Shastra and all stuff. I'm talking about Hinduism right now. Now, if you come to Buddhism, Buddhism has much better description about these things. In fact, Buddhists or Hindu, there used to be Rishi Munis and all stuff. They were like, in a way, scientists of older time, with different systems of science. Then modern systems are different. They're more prominent, profound. They have more structure in them. These older systems were interpreting reality just like this, but they had different ways. Now, if you talk about Buddhism is a very scientific system. And if I say Buddhism is a scientific system, these weirdos will make it some Scientology. Within one breath. No. Scientific does not mean Scientology or science or something. Scientology is with science means Vigyan. Vigyan is a process where you have this observation, you do practice, practical, you observe things, how they are. Like, for example, there's this chord, power chord, and if there exists some person who does not know what this power chord is, so if you give it to the modern scientists, they will tear it apart and they will try to understand its inside out, and then they will tell you this thing is happening. In modern, in the ancient India, all the times in Buddhism and all good part of Hinduism, they also used to try to figure out, if I was a person in older times and I did not know what this thing was, no conceived notion about this thing. So they tried to study this thing using different things. So in Buddhism we have direct understanding. Okay, we want to understand this thing, so we will understand it from the scratch. And this is how these systems evolved. So they have their own understanding, their own philosophy, their own science, their own logic going on in that. The Western people, they don't have the slightest clue about. That's why it's not written in the book. So Mark Passio thinks that there's nothing like that there. All right. And then I've tried to explain this thing, that this is a cultural thing, this is a civilization thing. Like there's a Western stuff. How do you tell Western people that other people also know science? People understand science. These disgruntled, these people with entitlement, all sorts of entitlement, without any background or education, something, they're all entitled. Americans are the most entitled people and dumbest people I've come across so far. I've come across a lot of Europeans, they understand a lot of things, by the way, readily. I've come across other cultures such as Germans, very intelligent people. I've come across your even Chinese people. We have some personally differences, but these people are very intelligent as well. Japanese people, they are very good, very intelligent people, very intelligent culture. Korean, Japanese, Russian, very intelligent people. All right, but as far as my interaction with Americans goes, these people are more entitled, narcissistic. As far as my interaction goes with not all the Americans, they are good Americans also. I've come across a lot of good Americans also. I'm talking in context with these people. These people are dumbest people I've come across. And all these people think that they are the wisest people available. They don't understand that they exist other languages also. People understand things through those languages, those models, those structures. They have their own thing going. Americans are blind, totally, completely absent from all this thing. They think that whatever they have understood, that is the entirety of whole world, and if people are not speaking the same language, they must be dumb. Okay. Okay.
etc.
Yeah.
Every one of these structures religiously is set up by the satanic control system. It's part of the
It got hijacked by a lot of lunatics. I will give you this much, but it was not set up by some Satanists. This is this the distortion this person is injecting into the core values, core understanding, and a long history of things. That's why this pisses me off. He repeats this thing. He thinks that Satanists are the honor of this word somehow. He give Satanists more power. He want to destroy all the lived experience of people that can actually, sorry, I'm burping a little bit, that can actually give people uh, some sense of like integrity. This is the biggest crime this person is committing.
same control system. It's part of Satan's system on earth to get you.
Satan lives in this person's psyche. Satan has taken over this person's personality.
confused as to what real objective morality is. It wants to take you away from seeing things as a unified moral standard perspective. And this is what Jesus said biblically in the New Testament.
Father Passio. Mark Passio has become pastor of father. Right? Father as in Christian, not any weird sense. Okay.
In the Gospels, as an allegory, when he said, if the eye becomes single, the body will be full of light. And he means if our perspective on morality becomes unified in one,
Right? Unified. When I started video here somewhere, I have to open another tab. Let me show you whether people are going to catch this or not. So when they contradict themselves, people don't understand what's going on. Okay. People are very bad at understanding things critically.
objective moral
Ideology is the solution. It's the financial system. We need to reform the system, um, and you're gonna be free. It's gonna be. We're gonna all live in a wonderful place, a paradisical earth. Everything is gonna be okay. We're gonna be free. We're gonna have our guaranteed freedoms. And I mean, folks, wake up. The system, or the governmental system, this compartmentalized power structure, is the problem. The
the
way people think,
the
they
entirety of the
support the
problem
system.
is that it is hierarchically based and compartmentalized. People think
Yeah.
that that's how you have to structure everything in life, as some sort of
No.
a hierarchy instead of a form of cooperation. Cooperation
Cooperation,
is what's going to lead
anarchical
to
system.
advancement of humanity.
And then Mark Passio will say that you are not on my level. You cannot sit with us. There's so many contradictions with this person.
Look at all the hidden technologies that we could be actually employing and utilizing that we're not.
This genius will say that they are making one word government, one government. Now see what they are saying.
Objective moral standard of true morality under natural law, the body of humanity will be filled with the light of the knowledge of the Creator. And then we'll have freedom. We'll be enlightened and we'll be free as a result.
And this idiot, he became all biblical. He don't understand that the entirety of the word, they don't have their beginning and like this. They don't interpret things like this. Even when you become biblical, it's not unified. You cannot unify these things. People have these beliefs from a very different beginning, and they have put all sorts of efforts. Maybe they have deceived themselves, let's say, but they've put a lot of efforts to deceive themselves. That's from their own experiences. They put a lot of hard work into this. Mark Passio thinks that with the blink of eye, this thing all will vanish, and this will not hurt people.
Which hence is why he also gave
Exactly.
the prescription of freedom to his disciples. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Well, what knowledge is that? It's the knowledge of conscience. It's the knowledge of the objective difference between right behavior and wrong behavior. Once we get on the same page,
What these people are trying to say, sometimes they make it an external object, they attribute it to somebody else, that it's wrong. When they spew this, they make it an internal object, and then it's right. So this, I'm reading all these insane patterns in these people. This all point toward insanity.
regarding that knowledge, we're going to become free. Once we align ourselves with the knowledge of true conscience, of the true difference between right and wrong, we will conquer the ignorance of moral relativism and the erroneous belief in the moral legitimacy of government.
So in the rhetoric that Mark Passio and this accessory had, no, there was no critical questioning or something. They think that whatever they spewed, without my commentary, they think that that's the entirety of everything, and they are right in that. They're missing all sorts of perspective, all sorts of humanly experiences, all sorts of history. No, a narcissist cannot understand what he's missing. Narcissist is more fixated toward what he want from people, how you want people to theater play. Anyway, I've been talking about all this thing for a while. They will go more crazy.
All the alternative media community and the people in the freedom community. That's what I have to say to them.
They do this thing called confirmation bias. So they start from a point, they have an accessory who cannot even challenge. They call it a host, he call himself a guest. He go there and he teach that person that this is how you should behave and this is how I will spew. And toward the end of the interview, they declare whatever their deluded mind told them. That's the absolute truth because there was no challenge. Nobody challenged that, so it must be true. So if it must be true, these people must be on some higher level. Okay.
Well said. Yeah, like I said, there a lot of them they're very foolish and very naive individuals. They still don't get it.
Utter bum is calling people naive and foolish who has no his own thoughts, by the way, process, who thinks that whatever this ideal he has in front of him and he can parrot and he can pretend and behave like him. It's called identity fusion, by the way. So he thinks that abusing people is equal to having some sort of knowledge or understanding on things. So this is how these people they delude themselves over and over and over. All their fights, all their outrage, all their anger, all their narcissism is to fool themselves again and again and maintain that state. That state gives them this anxiolytic. I've learned this term from Sam Vaknin. Anxiolytic. It reduces the anxiety. Anxiety where they are missing from their life, where they are living in their delusion. So it reduces their anxiety. And then they collaborate with each other and they share this feeling among each other and they declare that they're the nicest people, they're wisest people. Okay.
They're bunch of pussies and wusses. They're not real men. Imagine a man who thinks that he is a real man that wants rulers over him.
Could you
Then
imagine that?
somehow
Can you imagine these people? They are running around on each other channel and hiding behind these grown-up men. They're hiding behind other grown-up, and they are all deluded, by the way. Can you imagine these people? They have been doing this thing for 6 years. A man named Satyakas Boza, he hid behind these so-called men so that his bullshit will not expose. Now, the thing as far as it goes about a functional, healthy system, a government, and this and that, these people are deluded when they come across, then when they talk about this idea of anarchy. By the way, they stole this idea from Noam Chomsky. Anarchy, okay? They steal from everywhere. That's not their original idea, by the way. None of the whole shit that they spew, that they are attributing to themselves, is their own original idea, okay? If they exist people, social, and they want to have some values in society, even if they collapse these systems, they will recreate new systems. Because in order for a populace, a civilization to exist, there has to have a system. Okay, there should be a legal system where there will be criminals still. It's not like if they collapse these systems, the distorted version of reality people have, narcissists, psychopaths, rapists, criminals, they will overnight change automatically. Okay, so in order to handle those affairs, there will be new laws, new systems in place. These imbeciles, they will never understand these things. There will be new systems to handle these affairs. There will be new governments, there will be new laws, there will be new gods, there will be new religions. Okay, this is like inevitable. These things will revolve, will try to feel like, for example, if you look at a atom, and you go deeper into subatomic particle and everything else, later on you understand that there's no particle, there's only energy and there's only patterns. Okay, there's only patterns and there's only energy, and that energy later on becomes the things that we perceive. So it's like that. When there's a vacuum, that vacuum always fill in that way. It can have a different skin, different persona, but the underlying, like for example, there can be an element called oxygen, hydrogen. People can see atoms with different labels, but the underlying mechanism stays the same. It's something like that. So I try to tell these people this thing, and they will steal this thing. They will make a new rhetoric in their. They fish for these new informations to theater play later on, and make these things about their personality. Okay, they love attention. They love attention.
It's moral to
And,
have rulership over you. You being a slave. Fuck you.
yeah,
The people tell you what to do through coercive violence, and you think
imagine.
it's moral. And look
Or
at the
that
Coercive violence. So he's speaking his language. This idiot does not even understand that in this discussion there is no him. He is an accessory like a slave, and I'm not speaking in other terms. Okay, so I'm not being like that. In this, there's no other person beside Mark Passio or his rhetoric or his hoshit. He is an extension of Mark Passio, because you did not see this person's personality elements anywhere in this discussion. You did not see any of challenge of belief, thought, something. He is like trying to amplify him, and this is exactly why Mark Passio will not have one-to-one discussion with me ever, ever, because the day he had this discussion, all his delusion will evaporate. Okay, so let's finish this real quick because I have other things to do as well.
or
there's
these
some conversation.
male beings, allegedly male, wrap that in double quotes. I mean, check to see
Cowards.
if you
His nipples are still out, by the way. So yeah, male.
have a penis and balls, number one. Because
This is their crude explanation of these things. This thing once again explain that how stupid these people are. They think that male, this and that. This is all grandiosity. It's all stupidity. This is the main reason for this thing. Intellect does not need your body parts. Wisdom does not need your body parts like this. I'm not saying that man are man should. This is not in those directions. Okay, how these people mistranslate these things later on. These people are like, there's a terminology in this older Nordic tales, lords, fool of a took. This is what these people are. Okay, this is their explanation. All right.
you might be deceiving yourself regarding that, I think. You know, could you imagine someone calling themselves male saying, I need protection of government? First of all, government never protects anybody. They
Exactly. Government never protects anybody. Government is there to keep things fair. Original principle. I'm not talking about this hijacked version of government. Government is there to keep things fair, to keep predators in check. Its purpose is this much only. Okay. Okay, Uniches.
show up after the fact. Cops have never protected one
Exactly.
person ever. They show up after a crime is done. They'll show
This is not true actually. But these people, they will never understand this thing. How these things works in a healthy settings. Not what they have made this thing. These people think that whatever the whole of entirety of human experience have become now, these people have no hand in that. They don't understand that how these rules transformed because of these people's insanity for the worse. Okay.
to take a report about your dead
Exactly.
body. They ain't coming to help you stay alive. If you think so, you're a naive fucking imbecilic child. Okay, you're not a man.
Now he's talking with my element because he's not talking with this person. Okay, and I'm the person who challenged this person about his this anarchical point of view. So to people who think that I'm deceived, I'm deluded or something. So who is this person talking about this right now? You tell me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you
Exactly.
are, but you ain't a man. A real man.
I'm your daddy actually, and you cannot digest this thing because I've been exposing your whole shit for years, and you want to degrade me somehow. So these are the tropes you create for other lunatics, uh, so that later on you can use these things. This thing gives you some sort of sadistic pleasure or something, because when you are diminishing with facts, you have to drag other people down to your level. So other peoples are being respectful and showing those things, explaining things like a man, and you are being a, I don't know, bitch or something, or a pussy, to make these tropes like this to deflect people from the original topic, right?
Takes his own defense unto his own responsibility. And like I said, a real man would say to a potential aggressor, "I'm not worried about what you're going to do to me."
But what potential aggressor? Where did this potential aggressor come from? Out of nowhere. But this is what explains that these people live in a whole delusion world. There's no sense of this thing. They are talking about government at one end. Now there's out of nowhere, out of blue, there's a potential aggressor came out. Meet me in real life and show you so half of your aggression one to one. We will see about that in real life. So anybody can speak like this on a camera, all right?
But guess what? If you aggress against me, you damn well better be worried about what I'm going to do to you.
And if you aggress against me, then what should I do about you? So this thing, Mark Passio think that this never happens, but usually this is the case. If anybody is creating any video or anything about Mark Passio, they are talking about his aggression. Why is this person being so hostile toward everybody? Why is this person attacking people's belief, religion, science, education, anything? Is this person all superior? The whole world should follow what his deluded mind is telling. Should word run itself through the unstable mind of a insane person? This is what Mark Passio says, by the way. When he talks shit about religion, when he talks shit about your uh, atheism, when he talks shit about science, when he talks shit about any other belief systems, philosophies, when he talks shit about everybody else, when Mark Passio's in contempt about everything else, he's saying that he's superior and people should follow what I say. Okay, this is what he's saying, and he thinks that he's the only one who came across this thing. People don't understand what objectivity is. Even when people have a degree in computer science, understand science inside out, studied science objectively, studied the reality, word, everything else objectively. Mark Passio says in his rhetorics, in his delusions and his hubris, that these people don't understand what objectivity is. Mark Passio thinks that it's his property. So he thinks that only his mind can process the reality, and people should learn from this imbecile, this utter bum from the street, and he will tell people how what is right and what is wrong. Otherwise, there is some trope for such people. They're either Satanist, dumb people, moral relativist, religionist, Scientologist, something. All the while, Mark Passio will have a pendant of religion. He will promote some Nordic religions. That's fine. That's no issue. He will talk about the myths of Thor. That's no issue. Okay. He will talk about all seeing eye. That's also fine. First, these people will tell you that this eye of reptilian, it's a control mechanism. Then these people will tell you that you should follow this. All right. So he does not see his aggression in anything. He only sees aggression when people react to his aggression, when people give him some tough love. Okay, so he does not understand this thing that there exist other people, their boundaries, their sovereignty, their own processes. He has no regard about this in practice. Somehow in his deluded mind he still thinks that he respect people or something. Okay.
That's what a real man will say. It won't say, "Yeah, I'm going to call Big Daddy and you're going to be in a lot of trouble." I mean, that's what a retard, a naive child, and a pussy does.
So what happened in the beginning when Sethicus Boza? Let me show you the face of that person. Okay. And Mark Passio was crying about people are bullying him online. By the way, let me show you. We call such people habula in the what the fuck? So this habula for a man 6 years ago, he scammed me.
Nine of the
And like a bitch, he hid behind so many men. This grown man who was claiming as a strong man, this and that. He brought all these daddies of his to fight his fight. He hid behind these people. And these people are telling, and this person was threatening me to file a complaint. Okay? This person. And see how their narrative is. These people are far away from any reality. They are far away from any of the touch with reality, with truth, with honor, with respect, with their own masculinity either. All from a observer point of view, in the past 6 years, all I've seen in these people is some. And I will. This will be disrespectful for women, but still, since they use this tonality, a bitch behavior. Like these people are either childish or they are not men. All the behavior says this thing. If you're scamming a person and this person is asking you directly, why are you hiding behind some Mark Passio? Why are you hiding some behind some Michael Tsarion? And this Mark Passio, he hides behind other people. And then they try to reestablish their masculinity when you put these uniches back to their places. They re-regulate themselves using this thing. Mark Passio has spent one whole year playing victim, and now he's re-regulating himself with this rhetoric.
Let's face it,
Pussy.
that's not a man.
Yeah.
That's a naive, childish pussy. Just to say,
See the level of frustration. He is. Nobody is still asking that why is this person, me, making these videos about him? What is the beginning of this thing? What started this whole thing? There existed a Mark Passio. He created his videos for so many years. Nobody talked about anything because Mark Passio does not know that he started this hostility toward me with this psychopath. He does not even know that he initiated this thing. I've told this thing in the last video as well. This last time I'm talking about all these videos with him.
I am somebody who can point out what is going on to people and say, you can become as knowledgeable or more knowledgeable than me. There is no limit to this. That's why
whole fucking thing, but
Okay, so he's with him, and I can even go into the context these people are talking about. All right, now this person does not understand how Boza played him. Okay, these people are so stupid, they use and abuse each other also. Boza never let this person know that what he was doing with him. And I tried multiple times to explain this person what is going on. He was lost in his hubris. He was lost in his hubris. He did not even want to listen. Now he gone so crazy about all this thing, and he thinks that people like this is how he regulates himself. Anyway, I will just wrap up real quick. Let's finish this shit.
Say it in street lingo, period. Whoever gets offended, tough shit, I'm going to say it that way. You know? And it's like, that's the real truth of the fact of the matter.
Yeah, so let's do one-to-one interaction one time. Let's establish this like a man. All right. Let public should be the judge. I mean, this is insane street level thing, but he's playing all tough here. So why Mark Passio create these videos like this? Is it a manly thing to use an accessory to generate this narrative, to virtue signal? Why not these people have one-to-one interaction? Why are these people so scared of me? If these people are scared, I think this is fear.
Because a lot of them, they don't believe in the so-called notion, the so-called authority of God,
Right.
moral laws, because
Imagine
they
they
think
think
everything is subjective, so there is no right or wrong. So
This person is still parroting him. He thinks that he has become an extension of this. His identity is gone and he's fusing with this Mark Passio's rhetoric. He's become an extension. He still thinks that he's a man. He still thinks he's free.
therefore, man is as the so-called right to arbitrate
Yep.
what's right and wrong, so they can so-called support the legitimacy of
That's
a
right.
government.
Yeah, democracy is a good system to run things. Way better than any republicanism or any anarchical mad dog bullshit. Democracy is a good thing.
Exactly.
But
And that's why the word
and the thing is,
authority is what it is. Author
This is your way of interpreting these things, authority, because you have a criminal background. So these people have, all these wannabes have some sort of beef with government already. So they see government as an authority. They don't have any other relation with government. Once again, there's a corrupted government. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the real idea of government. Okay? Like these people talk about anarchy. There's no anarchy in action. So they are idolizing something in the wrong way. And I'm not idolizing, I'm talking about we had this system in India that functioned for everybody. And people were living a good life.
They think they're the
also,
author of law. There's only one author of law, and that's God.
That's Mark Passio. That's why he's authoring new and new natural law. There exist all sorts of ancient stuff about natural law. But they are all bad. Only what Mark Passio spews about science, about software, about everything. He has contempt about everything. And he is the author of everything. Deep down, this is what Mark Passio is saying. I've spent more time than I should have. Let's listen to his.
Get to a type 1 civilization. If people want to learn more about my teachings, they can visit my website centuries and right up until the current day. You can never do anything to make that moral. You can never speak any words, do a magic ritual, do a dance, dress in a costume, sign a document, and turn an immoral behavior into a moral one.
Exactly, Mark Passio, you cannot. Once you are a Satanist, you cannot tell other people to be moral or immoral. People don't learn lecture. People don't like to listen lecturing from a Satanist about morality, ethics, this and that, from a dismoral, immoral person who still shows all these patterns, behavior patterns. A person who has a shitty behavior, who has no restraint on himself, who says all sorts of fucked up things to people, who abuse their parents, who use terminology I cannot even say. All these things are you deluded fuck. People don't learn from anything from such people. No matter how much you have deluded yourself, no matter how much you feel this madness, people interact with your behavior more than your words. People interact with your actions more than your fantasy. This idiot will never understand. Since these people, they're still running their mouth. So this last time, there's another idiot Michael Tsarion, who was telling in his videos, older videos, that there was a planet. Uh, its name was Tiamat something, or Lucy or Lucifer, and it got destroyed. It has luminosity. He was making all this bullshit. You can go watch my video about Michael Tsarion. And it became asteroid belt, and asteroid belt had ocean. That planet had ocean. That's why you can see the ice and everything else. And there are fish in this, and sometimes when this asteroid belt is close enough to earth, fish fall from that on the earth. These were the uh, initial teachings. So he had this notion in his head that when the asteroid belt is close enough to earth, fish fall onto earth's atmosphere from that asteroid belt. That asteroid belt, by the way, is past Pluto or around Pluto. The difference between Pluto and earth is 5.5 million miles of billion. I'm confused. In the least possible distance, because the when they revolve around sun, so they have this axis. Sometimes it's closer enough to earth, so the least minimum distance is 1.5 million miles. And that idiot had this explanation that when it's close enough to earth, the fish from that asteroid belt fall on the earth. They travel 1.5 million miles. It might sound that this is close enough. 1.5 million miles without any propulsion, without any rocket science, anything. Fish just fly over this vast distance, and they fall into the atmosphere of Earth. That was the reasoning that idiot was giving, whom Mark Passio revered, by the way. Mark Passio saw him as his teacher once. This is the state of these imbeciles. These imbecilic morons are teaching you logic, moral, this and that. These dishonest people. Can you imagine this thing, this madness? And they have this mouth, and they run this mouth. They know how to run this mouth. And they have the insanity that they try to use to pressurize people, put people under duress, DURSS. How you spell that? Uh, they try to coerce people into their narrative theater play according to their host shit. So yeah, if you go to my channel, if you go to this fabulous video about Michael Tsarion, this fabulous video.
Properly explained. California, MUFON, I'd like to welcome all of you. Michael is
He's studying on the spot.
Well, I'm fishing through the files.
Okay, so if you go to watch this video from me, a fabulous Michael Tsarion's lecture about ancient Atlantis, you will see this, you will hear this ridiculous claim by these people. And these people think that they are the knower of all sorts of intelligent everything else. Yeah, so I should stop here. That's enough waste of time last time. Stop listening to these idiots. They're all narcissistic. They're all deceived. They're all lost people. They will make you lose your sanity. Manhood, womanhood, this and that. Okay? So these people have some issues with their masculinity, I think. There's this latent energy in these people. I've proved this with Michael Tsarion, and you can see this energy, different type of, like somebody bullied this person or something when he was a kid. Yeah, so I should stop here. Thanks so much.